technical analysis is tricky for two reasons. One, you have to figure out what's going to happen. Two, you have to figure out when it's going to happen, more or less, right? It's not enough to know that we're going to 32K. You kind of, if you want to trade it, if you want to take advantage of it, kind of have to know when it's going to happen, more or less. So when everybody's saying, okay, we're going down, and thinking we're going down now, they're probably short. That's funny because this is not the right time to be short. The right time to be short was during the ETF announcement or around that ETF announcement. Now at support of the channel, even though the target is way down at 32K, it's not the right time to be short because of what I've said. Hello everyone, my name's Dean, let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is January 19th, 2024. And I'm up late because there's something I couldn't wait until morning to tell you all. I'm seeing really interesting things in the chart for Bitcoin, for altcoins, especially for altcoins. And I think that the markets are going to do things that very few people anticipate. So I want to share that with you on this channel. Guys, if that sounds interesting to you, then watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a good day, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you're at. All right, let's get started with Bitcoin. All right, we've been saying for months on this channel, months, Bitcoin is likely to retest the $32,000 level because there's a ton of liquidity at $32,000. And remember, the resistance that we broke, I'll just show you. I don't know why I'm talking without showing you. Let me show you. It's very simple. Very easy calculus here. You had 250 days worth of resistance down here. This whole thing took 250 days to break. So very, very likely price has to come back down to this level, which is around 32.5, to retest that 250-day resistance as support. This is 250 days of resistance. You can also articulate that as a ton of liquidity. So there's a ton of liquidity down here. And remember, price, like water, like electricity, flows to where the liquidity is. So this is very likely. We've been saying that for a long time. But what else do we know? We know that markets don't really act in straight lines. They don't typically act in straight lines. They act in sequences, in motions, in waves, right? This is why we study Elliott wave analysis, right? So for a lot of people who expect price to just dump down to 32K, they're going to be sorely mistaken. And it's funny, you go on social media, big accounts, what are they saying? We've been saying 32K for months now, right? The Martini guy is just now getting on to the fact that, okay, maybe Bitcoin is going to go down to 32K. He said that on the 16th, a few days ago. Carl from the Moon just today had a realization. We'll most likely retest 32,000 before we head up to 500,000. Jim Cramer says, nasty beginning to the Bitcoin sell-off. Someone's probably going to try to make a stand here, but as we said last night, you can't have an asset double in value by hundreds of billions of dollars in anticipation of an ETF, and then almost no one shows up. The idea here that I'm trying to illustrate is that the masses are now thinking Bitcoin's going to dump, it's going to flash down to this target that everybody's identified, right? But not so fast. That's not how it works. Because if you look at the charts and you're careful, what do you see? Okay, well, let's break it down. The day the ETF was announced on the 11th, you hit a market top, a local market top. And we did say on this channel that it was likely going to be a sell, or buy the rumor, sell the news event. And that's exactly what you saw. The day they announced it, boom, we went down impulsively from the top of this channel all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so that's like 48,000 all the way down to where we're at now, 41,000. So a big, like what we said in the title, right? These titles aren't clickbait. We said flash crash, and that's essentially a flash crash because you're going down impulsively. You can see strong red candles, and here you probably are dealing with a run-of-the-mill 5-wave Elliott wave impulse, where you can count this as wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Boom! So 5 waves from the top of the channel all the way down to the bottom. After 5 waves, you get what? 3 waves in correction. This is something most people are not going to expect. A lot of people, a lot of amateur analysts are thinking we're at the bottom of the channel, so what happens next? We break the channel. Simple. Wrong. Unlikely. Unlikely. What's more likely than not to happen is that after these 5 waves, we put in 3 waves that take around the same time as those 5 waves. Remember, the 11th was the ETF announcement. It's taken us about 7 days to come down all the way from the top of the channel to the bottom. So it should take us about 7 days to go up in 3 waves. Also interesting, look at this. Watch this. You take a Fibonacci retracement tool from the top of this purported 5-wave sequence all the way to the bottom, and what do you get? Well, you get a phi ratio or a golden pocket that's more or less around where the midline is. And what have I been saying on the channel? Typically, when you look at channels, you always, or you tend to retest the midline before leaving the channel. Okay, that is true whether the channel is breaking up or breaking down. In this case, we're breaking down. So here's the midline, okay, and I drew it out, extrapolated it. And if indeed we were going to retest that midline and we put in 3 waves, watch this, boom, boom, boom. Those 3 waves would eventually hit the midline exactly around the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level, where you typically expect wave 2 to hit. Wave 2 typically hits, wave 2 of an Elliott wave retracement typically hits between the 0.5 and the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement of the preceding 5 waves. So there's confluence in our read that 1, we're dealing likely with the wave 2 retracement to the upside, which very few people are going to expect over the next 7 days. And 2, that wave 2 retracement is likely to retest the midline of our channel, which we've said for a long time on this channel was likely to happen before the big breakdown. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. This is what I don't think a lot of people are expecting. Over the next 7 days, it's very likely that Bitcoin matriculate from where we are now, 41,000 thereabouts, all the way back down, or all the way back up rather, to 44,600. Remember, 44,500, 44,600. Does that ring a bell? That is the average selling price of Grayscale selling thousands upon thousands of Bitcoin for the past 30 plus days. And that makes sense. Remember, it's all a liquidity game, right? This midline, the midline of a channel is essentially where most of the liquidity lies. That's why it's the heart line, the midline, right? And that's exactly where the whales have been selling most of their Bitcoin. So it makes so much sense in so many ways that price would retest that level of liquidity before breaking down again. And it's poetically interesting, I would say, that when the masses believe that we're going to get that move. The move is going to happen. So technical analysis is tricky for two reasons. One, you have to figure out what's going to happen. Two, you have to figure out when it's going to happen, more or less, right? It's not enough to know that we're going to 32K. You kind of, if you want to trade it, if you want to take advantage of it, kind of have to know when it's going to happen, more or less. So when everybody's saying, okay, we're going down, and thinking we're going down now, they're probably short. That's funny because this is not the right time to be short. The right time to be short was during the ETF announcement or around that ETF announcement. Now, at support of the channel, even though the target is way down at 32K, it's not the right time to be short because of what I've said. Okay, that's Bitcoin. And, you know, in addition to just looking at the Bitcoin analysis, very interestingly enough, if you look at the US dollar currency index, the market mover, this supports what I've just been saying about what Bitcoin is likely to do. Look at what I circled here, okay? Remember, the US dollar currency index is the market mover. It is what moves not only traditional markets, but also cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin especially. So if the DXY is going up, crypto risk on assets are going down and vice versa. So what do you see here? You see a gap. I circled the gap. The gaps in the DXY charts are typically filled expeditiously. So this is likely to fill in the gaps to the downside. So if the gaps to the downside, that's likely meaning that the dollar is going to come down, i.e. Bitcoin's going to go up temporarily. And why do I say temporarily? Because what you see here is an inverse head and shoulders, a neckline, a breakout, and you're probably just going to get a nice retest of that neckline where that gap is. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing on the DXY chart, and so this is what I think we can expect with the dollar. The dollar is likely to come down in the coming days, fill this gap, and at the same time retest the neckline of this inverse head and shoulders. Remember, any move down in the dollar typically corresponds with the move up in crypto, move up in risk on assets, Bitcoin, all that stuff, okay? So that's Bitcoin. That's corroborated by the US dollar currency index. Now let's talk altcoins. Okay, Bitcoin's interesting, but altcoins are even more interesting. And this is why you should be really jazzed about altcoins. This right here, what I've circled, okay? This sequence is massive. This is likely, in the larger scheme of things, a redistribution. What does that mean? Okay, in Wyckoff parlance, a redistribution means you're in a trend, right? Here's the trend, and you're consolidating, but you're not consolidating to reverse course. You're consolidating to resume the trend. That's a redistribution. This looks like a redistribution. Our momentum indicator on the 4-hourly time frame is indicating that it's a redistribution, right? On the hourly time frame, it's indicating that it's more likely than not a redistribution. Let's zoom out. I really want to tell you guys why this is so exciting. Look, on the high time frame, if you look at Bitcoin dominance, and remember, for those of you who may not follow the channel as closely and you're not familiar with all of these indicators, let me break it down really quickly. Bitcoin dominance is a measure of Bitcoin's dominance versus the rest of the cryptocurrency markets, okay? So when Bitcoin dominance is going up, that typically means Bitcoin is beating altcoins. It's gaining against altcoins. It's, typically going down and altcoins are going down more, okay? or it's going up and altcoins aren't really reacting much. But when Bitcoin dominance is going down, typically you see that when altcoins are going up, Bitcoin's going up, but not as fast as altcoins. And so Bitcoin is losing against the rest of the cryptocurrency markets. What I'm seeing on the small time frames with this little accumulation or this little consolidation is basically that this is likely to break down, and a breakdown of this, what do you see here? This is a quintessential head and shoulders bearish reversal pattern, target of which is the height of this superimposed from the neckline, and that target is likely going to be the next logical level of support, which is right there. Okay, many years, right, multiple years, as you can see, of support down here. 740 days, okay, approximately 2 years of support, right? And that coincides with the height of this bearish reversal pattern. So Bitcoin dominance is likely breaking down. If we get this breakdown, this will have been the largest move in Bitcoin dominance in a long time, okay, to the downside. And that pretty much means altcoins are going to run in the next 7 days, if that actually plays out. So while Bitcoin, so here's a story, here's the narrative. Bitcoin's going up, retesting 44.5, slowly putting in its 3 waves after its 5 waves down, 3 waves up. Yeah. So 7 days, it's matriculating to the upside. The idea that Bitcoin's slowly matriculating to the upside, not dumping, gives altcoins the breathing room to pump. And that's what altcoins take advantage of, according to this Bitcoin dominance chart, okay? And so if you look, and this is interesting, not every altcoin is going to go crazy. And I've identified on this channel certain altcoins that have already pumped and so are likely not going to pump, out of the gates. Like Chainlink, I've talked about extensively. I've talked about Cardano. But there are other altcoins that I've talked about. Cartesi, another one, Ren, that I really like. Look at this. There's very little room to the downside. These assets, these coins are pretty much at support, and they're waiting, they're begging for an opportunity to break out. Look at this, multi-year resistance in a falling wedge, and you've put in this very nice move, right? Up in 5, down in 3. All you need to do is boom, break that. That's your next logical resistance, right? And then obviously when Bitcoin starts to dump, you're probably going to dump in a major way, retest this long-standing resistance as support. So this is what I'm seeing. Long story short, Bitcoin goes back up to 44.5 thereabouts, and most altcoins go crazy. The ones that don't go crazy are because they've already gone crazy in the past 50, 60, 70 days. That's the story. That's what I'm seeing. That story, that narrative is corroborated by our favorite indicators, namely the US dollar currency index and Bitcoin dominance. Guys, if you've gotten value, please like, share, and subscribe. And consider buying me a coffee. Buy me a coffee at the Buy Me a Coffee link pinned in the comment below. You can also sign up for the membership. It's $10 per month. And what you get with that is a altcoin of your choice analyzed by myself and recorded and sent to you just days after you put in the order, okay? And so that is basically the service that I'm offering right now. I'm not offering too much because I don't want to cram my schedule up, but we have that altcoin membership, and you could just buy me a coffee, say thank you if you like, and you'd be able to see my, my daily updates, because I don't always do a video update, but I frequently post, sort of little messages on Buy Me a Coffee, and it's only available to supporters. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you next time.